and a truck.com.
Join Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Wake up to Good Morning Carolina, weekdays at 5:30 a.m.
And Good Morning Carolina. It is a very busy news morning today. I'm Donna Gregory.
And I'm Jeff Rivenbark. We're glad you're starting your Tuesday with us.
Be prepared and ready to go for the day ahead.
For the time being, we are dry and quiet, but we are dealing with some patchy fog.
And catch up with the overnight news you need to know before heading out the door.
We'll have more details and more live coverage in just a few moments.
Get up early for Good Morning Carolina, weekdays at 5:30 a.m.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Right? I can't hear you. How about your mute button? Okay, under the three dots. Yeah. I'm not hearing the mic yet. Oh, well. Try that again. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Was it a setting on your end?
A little bit of both. They just didn't want to cooperate. I think what it is just all that. Oh, I can't say it right now.
Yeah, you can say anything you want to.
Not friendly. I'm gonna try that. Hey, there we go. What a Monday morning we have. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. It is quite the morning this morning. We are graduating people, and I, for one, appreciate that because something, wait a minute. Oh my gosh.
And just like that, the audio's gone.
Uh-oh. This is the part I was worried about. I knew this was coming.
To the Institute of Rational Thought for a special broadcast. Hard-hitting interviews and relevant information to make your day.
This sounds familiar.
It's Chad Adams.
Chad?
Yeah, nothing makes you feel like old. Quite like hearing, the creativity from a decade ago that put that show together on the original Big Talker. When it was on two different FM stations in Wilmington, it just reigned, it dominated in the ratings and everywhere else. So, and the reason it did was because we had so many folks in this market who cared about stuff. We would have meetings. Look at you now. See, that's the music you should be using. That's all. That's off the hook right there. It's lit.
Yeah, it's all this hip hop, and now the computer is like really excited to get into the show. Now it's really.
You could be ESPN the Ocho, that they actually have that now.
Dude,
I couldn't believe it.
Have you watched it?
I saw scooter racing yesterday.
Okay, so
they were racing scooter.
Friday night, I'm at the Mad Boar. I'm playing with my friend Johnny, and I look up, and they have 3 massive screens at the far end of the bar, which even my old self can see from. And they were having competition air guitar.
Wow.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. Oh no! I actually saw that.
The dude in the yellow that looked like Randy Savage with the.
He got run out. When I saw it, there was a mom, and I was again flipping through. There's a mom and some guy in a red. They look like something from the '80s bad hair bands.
Now the dude in the red, I think, was actually like the Evel Knievel host in shorts. Did you? That was the craziest. What the hell is happening? Is this what we need for entertainment?
I guess it is. So, but it was the Ocho. So I can remember years ago, this one of these movies that may have made $1. It was Dodgeball. And I think that they showed it they made fun of it. I didn't think there really was one at the time. ESPN, the Ocho. There's so many ESPNs, it was like number 8. And they called it Ocho. They had these offbeat sports in it. And so now we really have an Ocho, and there are offbeat sports all over it.
Like
because we're more entertained, and it's more entertaining than politics. I mean, politics to me, to you, and a bunch of wackadoos out there is actually wildly entertaining. But when we're looking at stuff, browsing through TV, we look at the most ludicrous stuff. There's a show on making a cake, and can you tell whether it's a real, pile of junk or a cake? And then, you of course destroy the cake. There's so many shows. It's just insane. You thumb through, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes. It's like TikTok, except longer.
I don't know if I want to advertise on that.
Hours of time on TikTok. Yeah. Luckily, I haven't. I've resisted the addiction. I see these people curled up in a corner, and it's like heroin or TikTok. It's one of them, but it's just the way it is.
Holy cow. Yeah, I've seen that in the gas station.
Yeah, these people just they TikToked out. They haven't slept in 3 days, and they're looking for the next video of a spider, doing a sidestep. And it's a
or
perennial.
The guy who burns down the neighborhood trying to kill that spider.
Or or alligator in the front yard. Poodle
I
swimming
think
in the.
that was a recent lawsuit. A guy was arrested and charged with setting a wildfire trying to kill a spider.
Well,
with a lighter, and
if you can document the descent, not the ascent of man, but the descent of man. I'm about convinced that's where we are on social media anyway. We're in this decline of decorum. This unbelievable decline of decorum to the point that it's just rude. What are you? It sounds like you've got a dead, a zombie in the studio.
Well, I'm still, I'm seething. There's this person, oxygen thief, waste of time, named Sean Whalen. Do you know about Sean Whalen?
I think I've heard that name.
Sean Whalen is a jerk. Sean Whalen was buying and buying shirts from China, tearing out the tags and sewing in a new tag, which was made in China, that says made in USA. Got busted by the Federal Trade Commission. Had to pay over $211,000 in fines, and the POS is still in business. How does that happen?
You're talking about Sean Whalen, the actor. You're talking about a different Sean Whalen.
Sean Whalen, the owner of Sheep Not Lions, or whatever that is. Lions Not Sheep.
Lions Not Sheep. This dude. Now I've seen.
It's a waste of time.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not excusing. This is a fun thing. We get in these. You're either this or you're that, and it's a fallacy of two choices. And I think Sean Whalen.
Do something like this without.
Wait. A lot of people don't know who he is. Wait, I'm giving background.
Okay.
So you see this guy on Facebook. I've seen his stuff pop up in my feed. We'll talk about what pops up in people's feed shortly. But I've seen his stuff, and it's like, always buy first class ticket. You'll never regret. It's this opulent display of wealth, lifestyle. Hot chicks and jet planes and heck, I'll charter planes. It's, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Sean Whalen that you're talking about. I only know it because of the Facebook pimping that pops up in your feed sometimes, and it's this guy advertising this exuberant lifestyle, and hey, you can be like me, and it's kind of like a mini Alex Jones in a way, except Alex wasn't selling the hot women, but So, but again, it becomes it's about that person, and it's not about. Issues. I don't know anything other than that. I didn't know he even sold merchandise, but I figured there was something that he sold or did something to make money other than just saying, look at me getting on an airplane.
Right. And that's where he's been deceiving people for quite some time, trying to say that we're the better company because we sell American-made products when the American-made products were actually shipped here from China. And then this honest human being, this upright citizen to whom so many people bestow this respect, is going to tear off the Made in China tag, put in a Made in America tag, lie to everybody, and pocket the difference. And he does this as if it's part of natural business. This is the way you run a store.
But think about Nike for a second. I'm not excusing whoever Sean Whalen. I don't know enough about to comment that. Other than whenever you look at a golf tournament and you see all these people wearing Nike, and Nike's been innumerably linked to China.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't seem to bother anybody when other companies are doing this all the time in our face. And it's just one of these things. We as consumers are not that prolific with respect to where stuff comes from. Now, there are some label shoppers out there that look at that tag, made in China, made in Indonesia, Vietnam, whatever, insert Asian country. And then you're going to say, oh, you sound racist. Well, I don't see many, made in, I don't know, Poland shirts on the racks these days. So it's only indicative of where it comes from. A lot of made in USA stuff. I was always amazed when my father was in that world, in the textile world, that when Izod was first becoming a thing in the 70s and early 80s, how they would farm that out. They would farm the production of the actual shirts. So Izod didn't make any shirts. They farmed it out for someone else to make. Okay. So it's right. And so Wrangler, one of the brand of jeans and boots and stuff like a very Western rugged look and feel. Wrangler was one of the companies that had factories that made shirts. Why do I know that? Because Dad used to, just mess with me on brands. You know how you're in high school and junior high, you got to have the brand, you got to have whatever.
Oh, you had to have the little alligator.
Right. So a little alligator. So Dad, just to make fun of that, came home one day and had a box of them, of just the alligators.
Ha!
Because that's
you
what
just started sewing it onto everything.
Yeah, you could. So yeah, they were like a shirt with 9 Izods on it, or whatever. So it's just interesting because that's what they would get shipped to put on the shirts that they made. That weren't Izod shirts; they were Wrangler shirts being sold as Izod shirts because they didn't make anything. They made the little alligator. They made the little alligator. That was it.
And that was profitable enough. Now, when Nike, as your example, because it does seem rather nauseating at times when you see a bunch of people wearing this, knowing that they've just propped up a good 6 months of China's economy just by wearing these shoes and shirts and the schwa.
Well, it's so deep though. You can't even denounce. I mean, you've got the NBA that won't denounce China. You've got professional athletes that are extolling the virtues of a Chinese communist country.
I wonder if there's donations involved.
Well, there's certainly travel, and then we've got a guy's son in the White House. Remember, it was Russian disinformation, and Hunter Biden is absolutely a train wreck of a human being. It's flown on Air Force Two, and that story, I don't think he'll ever serve a day in jail, but that story will not go away. But to your point about China, if you've got connections to companies that make money in China, and this is going to sound conspiratorial, it's not meant to, but if President Biden, this could explain some of the pushback that we get from the White House these days about China. They're not as tough on China. They're not standing up to China. And to your point, I'm glad people, that myself, you, everyone I know, they're sick. My wife won't even buy anything that says made in China. She finds out it's made in China. That's going away. So there is this renewed sense of, hey, we really need to look out for ourselves here at some point in time.
And to look for those companies that are being entrepreneurial, developing ideas in our country to sort of further our idea without being deceptive. Now, do you think there would be any sort of recourse if Nike were to open a shop in, say, Saudi Arabia? Because aren't they
not my concern? Not my concern.
Aren't they at the golf course in New Jersey right now?
Oh, yeah. But if Nike wants to open up a store in, I don't care where if they open one in Cuba, that's their business. And if there's enough of a free market for Nike to make money in Cuba, I would love to see free market capitalism take place in Cuba. It's not taking place in Cuba. A lot to do with the embargo and a lot to do with the fact that that's their life. So it's a communist lifestyle. And unfortunately, that's very limiting on freedom. But as far as free market, look, Saudi Arabia is a fascinating. You brought it up. You kind of did it with this LIV tournament. Again, we're getting into sports. I never thought TK would be a guy jumping into sports, but we'll go there.
I'm not. It's just when I find something this ridiculous, I get mad.
But wait a minute on this. So we have a president that said he would stand up to Saudi Arabia. He goes there begging for more oil production, which they kind of laugh at him. And they did a meager, barely noticeable uptick. But he swore he would never do that. But it's because he strangled energy production at home and made it more difficult. Because it's not just, TK and Chad get a permit, get a well. It's a long-term process. And if you go about saying, I'm going to stop that process, people take you at your word. And when you get elected, there's a lot less speculation and oil drilling that takes place. So we go begging to companies like Saudi Arabia, which just kind of laughed at us. A country, by the way, that the same president said, I'm not going to do business with because of their the kingdom and what they did to Khashoggi. So then you have and again, every company is not necessarily the reflection of the government in which it exists. There's many companies here that denounce all sorts of conservatives. There's a couple companies that would denounce liberals, and they operate in this country. Disney can't stand conservatives right now. It's kind of bizarre, but okay. But you look at that, they're operating in the free market. And so we have to be careful about judging. It's one thing if the Tricoms own the company. It's another thing entirely if it happens to be TK and Chad's Chicken Stand, and we happen to have 56 branches in Europe. That doesn't mean we're European. It means we're trying to make money off of Europe.
Okay, so that's a slight clarity.
Yeah, so when you're talking about Saudi Arabia and this new LIV tournament. So if you look at part of it, and again, it's one of these.
Do you
it's
know
more
the
complicated.
name of the tournament?
It's yeah, I don't know what it's at. I think it's not. I don't know. I think they're Roman numerals, something like 59 or something like that. And and someone's going to correct me, and I hope they do. I'm not pretending. I just know the controversy is that they're creating a tournament to compete with the PGA. Now, on the face of it, love that. Love the fact that something can tell the snobbish PGA, we don't need you, but we're members, and you can't kick us out because we are members, but we have the right to be members of multiple organizations. To which the PGA is like, no, even though you've qualified for our tournament, you're playing in that one, you're out. I don't know where this is going to end up. I suspect in this country it'll be through litigation. But to sit here and condemn Saudi Arabia, while most of the PGA Tour are wearing brands that have connection to the Chinese communists, is kind of rich to me, if you're going to be hypocritical. But I don't hear the players doing it as much, although Tiger Woods turned down, what, $700 million? Imagine turning down $700 million.
I can't.
That would be amazing. So he turned down more money than the lottery guy got, even though that said 1.4, but there are a lot of taxes. Anyway, so a lot of these people that try to make the PGA Tour, they go through a lot of expense, and the ones at the bottom tier don't make anything. They barely make enough to even cover travel, much less even make $1. So they literally can't make a living being allegedly professional golfers. The beautiful thing about LIV is there's a guaranteed salary for people who make it into that tour. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of golfers go there, is because they want to play golf, as an avocation, make money, support their family. So you can't blame them if the guaranteed income is like $160,000 a year.
Well,
I don't know what the salaries are, but I can't really blame them because the money is in the U.S. The money is, and there isn't like we have an embargo against Saudi Arabia right now from a capital standpoint. We're buying we have a president that literally went there and asked for their product.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to be hypocritical and condemn everybody else who wants to do business with them.
Yeah, since there is no clarity in the line, right, that the ability to prey on the raw emotions of people who are unable to protect themselves, or at least have some sense of.
Now that's interesting
because they don't have a way of like.
Well, wait. You just said prey on people. What was it you said? I like the phrasing. I wish I could remember it right now. You said prey on people.
Prey on people who are already emotionally raw.
Okay, so insert almost any group of people there in what you just said,
and then socks.
But the assertion is that you're preying on someone who has a choice in what they purchase. I'm astounded at the people who buy, for instance, the level like Fortnite. I'm astounded at the people who will spend real money, or at least, the facsimile of money
on a fake gun,
on a digital gun not a digital gun that fires bullets
on the gun.
Or that buys a pair of wings, or that buys any kind of tool for Fortnite. I mean, it's a fascinating game to watch kids play. And then, to make it look, and it's like you purchased nothing tangible, but it makes your game experience more fun. So it's a digital, because I'm not condemning it. Look, I love video. I think they're fascinating video games and the VR experience, all that. But when you're spending money like that on nothing tangible that has, they would say, well, if I get enough of them, I can sell it to someone else. I haven't really seen evidence of that. But it just seems wasteful and a little cracked out to me.
Oh, yeah. But that's the entire genre, I think. Everything.
So does that mean that the gaming industry
smells like dirty socks?
Does that mean that the gaming industry is preying on kids?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So is McDonald's, wait, this is good. I love where you're going with this. Does McDonald's prey on you because their French fries are like the bomb? Although Wendy's fries, good, they may be first or second. I could give them. So the point is that preying upon. When I see that fry commercial and I really want some fries, are they preying upon me because maybe I've got that potato addiction, right?
Well,
in a free market, it's not that you're preying upon; it's that you're trying to make money. You're trying to
get in that soft spot. You want them to be receptive.
Okay, you like music, right? Every band out there wants to influence people to purchase their music and see their performances.
Right.
That's the nature. And if you do it better than someone else, that competition drives music in a way that makes it, you can argue better. I think that there's some amazing stuff that's being done in music on almost every front in every genre. But competition. Are they really taking? Yeah, of course they want to. They want to do a tear jerking song to get you drawn in, to get you in connected to that song, or some outrageous thing about climate change to get you connected. Adele's made a history of getting broken heart. Every breakup in the world turns into a $25 million #1 hit. So
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. Oh, gosh,
now, some of this is going.
Haters gotta hate, baby.
Well, I'm just saying that's her MO for writing songs too. She has horrible relationships with terrible people and then capitalizes
but turns
on
it into something poppy and fun.
Right. So that's like taking a Chinese product
but
and
it's no
branding
different.
American and kicking it out.
What we need to understand, okay, let's strip some of this down. We need to understand who our geopolitical allies are and who the geopolitical friends are. China is not. China is not. There is a one world China policy. We know it. They've said it. They run with it. It's not like they hide from it. They don't say the quiet part out loud. They're saying the out loud part out loud, which is we are hell bent on world domination. We'll be friendly with anybody for a while, but even in back of our minds, the Chinese say, even though we're buddies with the Russians right now, if the situation were right, we take over Russia. That's the reality of dealing with the Chi-Coms.
They probably have more firepower right now.
Well, they may, or they may not. They've done some remarkable advertising lately about their hypersonic missile capability and about their ability to hit targets on water, which they've struggled with for decades. So the Chinese, the bluster of the Taiwan situation. I mean, Taiwan's a little place out there just off the coast of China, and it's been asserted that it's part of China all along. But how far are we willing to escalate that situation before it becomes one we can't? There's no détente. There's no turning back from. The Chinese are practical enough to know that an all-out war with us is not productive for them. But if they can have proxy wars, if they can keep us focused on pronouns rather than actually, killing things and breaking things and killing people, which is the #1 thing the military should be very effective at. Sounds brutal, but that's what it should be. It's what I want my military to destroy my enemy. I want them to destroy the infrastructure. I want them to destroy everything about them, their homes, and kill them. So that's what we want our military to do. And I don't want them focused on all these arbitrary third things and pronouns and how you feel about stuff and social emotional learning and all that other stuff. What you want is an effective killing machine that is better strategically. I was astounded at the beginning of World War II. Not that I was there. I know I seem that old. But if you watch specials about that, we were like the 17th most powerful nation in the world at that point in time.
We had like new kids on the block.
17th military in the world. And then after Pearl Harbor, we were 33rd in the world. So we had a lot of catching up to do, but it unleashed the power of the entrepreneur and manufacturing in World War II. And we saw these productivity gains and the creativity gains that escalated to put it right up top or near the top after the war. So we are capable, but how capable? I wonder today how many people would rally for the country across party lines. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to anyone, but I wonder how far we would go to have that in.
Hello, you froze.
To the American ethos. Oh, I did.
Yep.
I'm frozen.
There we go. You're back.
I'm back. Okay. But I wonder in the American ethic, in the American mind overall, kind of an overall way of looking at things, the degree to which, and I know you love that phrase, the degree to which, I should say it like 20 times. I'm just kidding. That how far we would go to save the country and unite against a common, it's kind of an Independence Day type thing. How united would we be in an independent scenario? TK, did you run away?
No, I'm preparing your next guest.
Oh, I have a guest.
You will.
Okay, take a break and then a guest, or are you putting them in?
Well, let me get the link to him first.
I didn't have to put on my glasses yet today.
No,
TK's
but you did put on a shirt. I like that.
Yes, that's all. I certainly don't want to have a what's that dude in CNN? Oh, Jeffrey Toobin.
Did he show up without a shirt?
No, he showed up. Well, no, he did something far worse. You hadn't heard the Jeffrey Toobin story?
I'm not sure.
He was performing some solo activity while he was on a conference call with CNN, not realizing his camera was on.
And what?
There you go.
Do it again?
No, I'm not going to say that again. I said it once. Once was enough. But when he was doing it with his camera on and in front of staff, And so it resulted in his being removed and then rehired. And now he's the heroic, the guy at CNN. Are you still there? TK. So I don't know if I'm talking to myself, talking to you. If you were listening,
I'm not sure what happened over here. Welcome
that
back.
was bizarre.
It
yeah,
is.
was I gone or was I frozen this time?
No, you were fine. I think my mic just underwent power. I heard a really weird sound, and it's like, man,
I did too. I heard that strange scratching sound.
Ever since I added the second network here and started adding, like, you can see video now on your end, right?
No, I see your frozen picture with the
halo.
With the halo. Every time you talk, that's all I see.
Well, I need to fix that.
Your camera is off, but your audio is on.
Well, then we are going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I promise I'll fix all that, and it'll be really cool.
Yeah, you got your Woodstock. You've got your Woodstock outfit on. That's what I see.
Yeah, that's from the name of the club was Phoenix Hill Tavern, Louisville, Kentucky. Band was Excess. We were having a blast. I believe it was Derby week. So if anybody wants to understand Derby, just open up like 5 bottles of liquor and drink them all over a 5-day period without any responsibilities whatsoever. That is Derby. It's so much fun. Of course, when you wake up and you can't remember how you got there, that's like being at the Asylum right here on the Big Talker Network. So during the break, please visit us at thebigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. And I tell you what, the Asylum will be right back. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We begin with a motorcycle crash that took the life of a Columbus County man. Just before 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon in the southbound lanes of I-95, 49-year-old Kenneth Ray Todd from Hallsboro crashed into a guardrail in a construction zone after veering off the highway. The Highway Patrol says the crash happened when Todd reached down to get a bottle of water. As he took a sip, he swerved, hitting that guardrail. First responders spent about 30 minutes on life-saving efforts, but he died on the scene. We have an update on a story from late last week. An inmate who escaped a medium-security prison in Robeson County has been caught. Wayne Zachary Holzhauser was discovered missing around 5:30 Friday evening in the Robeson CRV Center. According to the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, 5 hours later, Holzhauser surrendered without incident and was transported to a close custody facility. The 37-year-old was serving time for violating his post-release supervision on a 2018 conviction of receiving a stolen vehicle. He was scheduled to be released in November. In downtown Wilmington, New Hanover County Commissioners want to move forward with Project Grace. Before that happens, the state treasurer's local government commission must vote on the lease agreement. That lease will outline the county's payments for the development of the public library and Cape Fear Museum. County staff and the developer gave a presentation on the project to the LGC last week. New Hanover County Commissioners are asking the state treasurer to put the vote on the calendar at the next LGC meeting. And this weekend wrapped up Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week at a special event in Brunswick County. There were spoken word performers, live music, and food at a festival in Ocean Isle Beach. The Leland Town Council proclaimed July 30th to August 6th as Gullah Geechee Nation Week. The goal is to bring awareness and appreciation to a group that has a rich history in the Cape Fear region. For more on these stories, you can head on over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Typical summertime weather patterns sticking around on this Monday as high temperatures inland of the coast get into the lower 90s this afternoon. Coastal areas will climb into the middle and the upper 80s. Nice beach weather with a moderate risk for rip currents and a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms to fire up mainly into the early afternoon hours today. As for tonight, I'm expecting quiet conditions to stick around as our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair with certified technicians in all engines and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Toxic masculinity, dude. Toxic.
Welcome back to the Toxic Masculinity Show here on the Big Talker Network. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We're at the Asylum, which is your refuge in a world gone mad in case you are toxic. And I have to say it's been wonderful having our own Chad Adams back on the show here. How you doing, sir?
I am moderately neato, dude.
It looks like you're mesmerized by a bird outside your window.
Truth be told, the bird's out this window, but over here it's just gorgeous outside, the beach and stuff. Just beautiful day.
All of Brunswick County is like that, isn't it, Bill?
It is beautiful everywhere in Brunswick.
See? I got friends everywhere. I got Bill over there in Brunswick County, down in, well, you're not actually in Bolivia right now.
No, I'm in Leland.
You're in Leland. And my friend Chad, is in Southport.
Actually, no, I'm at Caswell Beach.
Caswell Beach. My topography sucks.
We're 0 for 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
TK, do you know where you are today?
No, I don't. I think I'm in Holly Ridge. I didn't get back until like 1 in the morning, so.
Yes, your late nights at Bald Head.
Yeah, it's like a 12-hour day, man.
Yeah. So you're the host. Go ahead, roll.
Well, Bill is here, and you and Bill have a much better handle on the conservative politics here in North Carolina. And I understand between now and November, it's going to get crazy. When is the money going to start, like, flowing to get these messages out there?
When?
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is that we could really use some political advertising.
Well, I'll let Bill weigh in on that one as well. But you are seeing tons of money spent already. I mean,
not here.
Just hear me out here. Because so if you look at the Cherry Beasley-Ted Budd race, Cherry Beasley, former Supreme Court justice, lifelong activist Democrat, then Ted Budd, congressman from the Winston area, a conservative guy. It's going to be an epic race. It's going to be a 20, 40, 50 million plus dollar race, depending on the PACs and the groups that are in there. But Beasley's doing something that Kay Hagan did when she ran against Elizabeth Dole many, many moons ago. Well, Elizabeth Dole had a 10-to-1 name ID, probably 20-to-1 name ID advantage. She had more money than Kay Hagan. No, everybody felt Kay Hagan was just a perfunctory up at bat to let Elizabeth Dole roll over her. But Hagan did something all summer that Cherry Beasley is doing right now, which is running these very moderate ads. Cherry Beasley's trying to come across like Democrats are wrong, Republicans are wrong. I want to represent you. I think that message is resonating. I think that Ted Budd's team is making the same kind of strategic possible. They're waiting. Ted Budd he resonates with the conservative base, but remember, the anti-Trump base is united. Whereas, the friends of Trump is a smaller group of very active folks. Ted Budd's got the best message. I just hope he can get it out. And Bill, I'll let you go ahead on that one. I took a little too much time.
Oh, no, that's great. I agree with what you're saying about what Beasley's up to completely. I don't think it's going to be successful. I think in the long term, Budd will prevail, and I certainly hope so. At least he will in Brunswick County. I'm going to guarantee that part.
Yes.
From that point on, though, and to answer your question, TK, the Republicans still have a mindset, which we've been fighting for years now, that the election starts in September. It's always after Labor Day. Everybody gets intensive and we run.
Right.
And you can't do that. You got to do 24/7 nowadays, which is what the Democrats do. Day after this, November 9th, they'll start working for the next election. And we need to be doing the same thing. Now, to answer some of your questions, the party is in the process of renting electronic billboards in 3 parts of the county. That'll get out our message for all our candidates, and that'll be on for the last month before the election. So, we'll start before early voting, and we'll run it right through the election and get that information out for our people. And it's an interesting operation because I never really looked into doing billboards, and I had some people working on it with me and for me. And you get 8 seconds for each time you go up there, and you can only do and they say no more than 17 words, because beyond that, people won't read it when they're driving by, or they can't read it. So it's been an education doing it also, but we are getting ready to do a number of things. We're getting ready to order our cards that we give out at the election and mail to our people. So that's all going on, and it's gearing up. Actually, as we get to August and get to September, so we are gearing up. You will see some money spent. Unfortunately, on the Republican side of the House, we don't have the funds the Democrats do, and that's a fact.
Wow. So what type of, I've never rented a billboard or electronic billboard. Are these things like a couple of bucks a day, or is it like, $1,000 a minute?
It's thousands of dollars a month, man. Bill wishes that were a couple bucks.
For a couple bucks a day, I'll spring for every billboard I can find.
I've never rented one. I've built one.
You've got a couple different companies here in Brunswick, and a lot of roads and a lot of long roads. It's a large county. And so, it's not cheap, and they're strategically located. Some are, you've seen those digital billboards. There's one right when you come across a river into Brunswick County. And as Bill said, you get 6 seconds, put 10 ads a minute that are flashing through there.
You get 8 seconds.
8 seconds, yeah.
And what you do is you have 8 different slots you can fill. So you can do the same thing 8 times, which will run every minute roughly. Or you can put in 8 different messages, which then run every 7 or 8 minutes on their schedule. So we're looking at doing multiple messages, and there'll be one in the middle of the county by 211. There'll be one in the south, and there's going to be one in Cleveland.
And Bill said something very critical that he said it's automatic for him because he knows Brunswick County so well. And that is, when you're looking at the state of North Carolina, 100 counties, and you're looking county by county at where the votes are coming from and where they need to come from. For Republicans to be successful, they need to get these large turnouts in counties like Brunswick that are heavily Republican, so that you come out of that with a 16, 18, 20,000 vote advantage for Republicans to overcome the uphill climb against the Mecklenburg County, a Guilford County, a Wake County, or and certainly Orange County, North Carolina. And even that. So that's why it's so important for counties like Brunswick they've got to get that vote up. People are saying, well, Brunswick, Republicans win. Well, they do, but the Democrats, it's a very uphill climb. They're not going to make it. But for the rest of the state, for those statewide candidates, they need that advantage that Bill's talking about, where it's not just a matter of winning 51 to 49 in Brunswick County. You really need to have these, 60, 65% votes to help the rest of the state overcome those very left-leaning areas.
Just an example, TK. In 2020, when the election was held here, we gave the average Republican running a 19,000 vote plurality. And that's good to overcome counties where you're just losing or you're just barely winning or you're getting kicked. You're getting your butt kicked. So those numbers are critical for us. And we run into something unique down here. I've only got 4 contested positions out of the 11 or 12 that are local.
And that's a clean sweep right there.
Yeah, it's nice on one side of the house. But the other side of the house, it doesn't motivate people to come out and vote.
Oh, so there is that.
You get people out to vote and make them understand exactly what I'm talking about. We need a maximum turnout so that we can deliver the votes necessary to be successful across the state. And that's exactly what happens. And the second thing we need to get into people's minds is you need to vote the entire ballot. Okay, you need to go from top to bottom and vote. It's easier now because everyone's got a Republican or a Democrat next to them. So it used to be you have to kind of figure it out, but it's there. But again, statistical information. In 2020, when you looked at in Brunswick County, if you looked at what Trump pulled and you compare it to the lowest person that was on the ballot at that time, there were 9,900 people who did not go down and vote that far.
And that's going to make a difference at the local level, which is where you're actually going to the grocery store.
Well, TK, where it's critical are those judicial races, and those are typically at the bottom of the ballot. Those are ones that Court of Appeals, North Carolina Supreme Court. Right now, the balance of power on the Supreme Court is Democrat, and then
on the North Carolina Supreme Court,
on the North Carolina Supreme Court and the North Carolina Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals is a little more right leaning. But it's critical. Bill's going to be getting out there working because you've got Supreme Court races, and that could tip the scales in a huge way and be very tough for the Cooper administration and for Josh Stein moving forward that are doing all these activist type lawsuits. It could stop some of that.
So that's what this ABC 1-2-3 thing is about, Bill?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Zoom,
Yes.
Zoom, Zoom. All the kids' shows are coming back when you say that.
Okay. But that's exactly what it's all about. If we can take control with 3 votes in the General Assembly as far as the House is concerned, 2 in the state Senate, and take at least 1 of the 2 seats, and we think we can get both at the North Carolina Supreme Court, we can then override anything Cooper vetoes, and we can stop this Sooty or Blue mentality, because as soon as later it gets to the top, we're there. And the other thing, even though we have a majority in the Court of Appeals, by winning the extra seat or 2, the Court of Appeals works by breaking into groups of 3. And so the only way you're going to guarantee that 2 out of 3 will be a Republican is to win 1 or 2 more seats. So you won't run into those surprises when they sit there and they play. They play with.
And TK, he's talking about on the Court of Appeals, you have many more members. And so whenever they take a case to the Court of Appeals, they pick 3 judges. And to Bill's point, you want the preponderance of those to have conservative constitutionalists sitting in those seats rather than have, more left leaning. And so that's what Bill's talking about when he tells the groups of 3.
Okay.
And we're close. We're not quite there.
These are new terms to me.
Yes, they are.
Because I've never needed to appeal, because I try not to, put myself in some sort of illegal or questionable or compromised situation where I'm going to need a lawyer to pay off Stormy Daniels or something of that nature.
These
are more corporate, or is this business?
No. These are cases that make their way through the court that get appealed on up, and they end up becoming constitutional issues. And that's a lot of the and I'm not talking about the U.S. Constitution. We're talking about the state constitution, which is vastly different. And does it run afoul of any U.S. Constitution, or would it go over to the federal side? So that court, it's not like 1,000 different cases. They don't have to take certain cases. They don't have to take any case. They pick and choose. But these are issues that clarify laws passed by our legislature and the way in which it plays out with our Constitution. I mean, I'm waiting for some challenges for our Constitution on having a superintendent and a state board of education. But that's an example of the kind of case that they'd be looking at before it gets kicked up to the Supreme Court, North Carolina Supreme Court.
Oh, so it's more about our legislative process.
It's more about the legislative.
About our
they do
criminal...
others, but they do a lot of that. But they do criminal stuff, but this is more constitutional.
Well, for example, again, TK, the voter ID has been stuck in both courts, both the federal and the state courts, for years. And and what they'll do is they just coming back with another angle on it. If you then get to the point where, like the U.S. Supreme Court, we have a majority in the state Supreme Court, they're less likely to just sue unless there's a real reason for it, because they know they're eventually going to lose. But as long as they keep where they are, they're going to be able to do what they want. And even the fact that there are 4 of them, the 4 out of 7 are Democrat up there, and we're fortunate to have the Chief Justice Newby there who controls some of it. They can still manage to pull things in and do what they want to, and they're trying to pass and get as many things done before the election and before the new people are seated, because I think they know it's not going to go well for them.
And that he's exactly right. It's why we're seeing what's happening at the federal level. It's why the Democrats really don't have a lot of power in North Carolina yet. I mean, historically they have. But he mentioned something very interesting. Again, he mentioned Paul Newby. Now, Paul Newby is the Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. Now, not only, is that a critical position with respect to judicial jurisprudence, but he runs the administrative office of the court for North Carolina. He runs the 3rd branch of government by virtue of the fact that he's the Chief Justice. So he gets to pick the administrative officer of the courts. He gets to pick the staff, the people who run the entire court system that oversees all 100 counties. So that's a critical position, not just with respect to how he votes or how he determines a case, not votes, but how he runs the court system. And that's a huge difference in the way things operate, as Cherry Beasley held that position at one time. So it's critical. And look, moving forward, it's going to be critical to make sure we have majorities in those places.
In an even simple version, that when Newby came in on January 1st, when he took over a couple of years ago, the first thing he did was open all the court systems again. They were all shut down by Beasley, and there was nothing going on in the courts 99% of the time. He forced them to open it. He forced them to
backing up.
Wow.
Bill, sorry, I was just adding that all the courts were backing up because of what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to TK about something on the radio.
No. It's all you. It's just backing up.
No, he'll chastise me by text.
Up. Yeah, that's that's what I do to TK.
Now, when trying to make these numbers, your hoping to achieve this 3-2-1 goal and to get people into those booths, we already have enough registered voters. How do you generate the motivation?
The enthusiasm?
Yeah. How do you? Because if I didn't know and I didn't actually have a case on the docket where I'm facing some serious prison time, I'm not really worried about what judge you have to face. How do we change that?
Well, Bill, I'll let you go first.
Okay, you change that by simply pointing out what the judicial system is doing to you. For example, one of the sorest points in this state is voter ID. 60% of the people voted for a constitutional amendment for that, and it's still not in place because of lawsuits and activist judges who are stopping it. So you bring that up and keep pointing to people, they need to vote if they want to change that. And that and similar cases like that are what we need to motivate people.
And it's not that unusual. Like, it felt awkward when I voted that I had my license in my hand. I had my ID. But they didn't ask for that. They just asked me for the little card thing, and if I didn't have that, all they had to do was put my name.
Now, TK, I know you like to take shots at both sides, and I'm as you know.
Because y'all are crazy, all y'all.
Well, wait. But one thing about being if you're a true conservative, and most a lot of people are, at least fiscally so, then you're willing to criticize when your own team screws up. That's one of the hallmarks of that nature. Now, Bill's the head of the party, having been in a role like that in another county. I completely understand his position, whereas I'm not. And so the voter ID situation is very funny to me because North Carolina, when it had the chance to pass that law, could have passed the identical one that Georgia had that has passed constitutional muster. But North Carolina went and drew up its own version of voter ID, which, as Bill said, it was put out to the voters 60%. We had the vast majority of voters across most political spectrums love voter ID, except for those in office on the left. So it wins, but because of the way it was written, rather than copy, so Republicans, we made it more difficult on ourselves by just not doing something that had already been means tested. We wouldn't be in this situation had we not gotten creative. But to Bill's point, it is strange to walk in and know you can vote for the most powerful person on the planet without proving who you are. And,
even though you're ready for it. It's like they didn't even, it's like you would have thought I had offered the person a Tic Tac with the way they recoiled.
Well, they can't. Bill can tell you they'll get in trouble if they ever mention that.
They can't do that, unfortunately. You know, and TK, there's something else you were saying. You said we have the numbers because we have motivated voters. You know, in Brunswick, we're unique because the majority of our people are Republican, with the second group being unaffiliated, and they're close. And then we have the Democrats, which are further down that pile. You go statewide, though, the Democratic Party is second. Number one is unaffiliated now. Republicans are third in numbers statewide.
So the apathetic party is winning.
No, I think just the opposite, the activist part. I mean, if you're unaffiliated, you took the time to register unaffiliated, and it means you can pick any ballot you want to when you go into the primaries. So you go to the primary, you want to vote Democrat, you can pull that ballot, you want to vote Republican. There's no closed primary. In theory, and this is something probably most Republicans or Democrats might be concerned about, if you had a large enough block of unaffiliated, you could actually go and determine, let's just say I wanted to have the more liberal Democrat elected. And in the primary. So you get a bunch of unaffiliated people to go and vote for that more liberal because in the fall you want to defeat that one. So, and I'm not saying they would do that, but there are people that think that way. And that's one of the problems with voter ID. And not just ID, but the way we do unaffiliated and closed primaries. I don't know how Bill feels about closed primaries, but right now, more unaffiliates could technically vote for Republicans across the state than Republicans.
That's absolutely correct. And again, TK, going back a few years, you go back to Rush Limbaugh, rest his soul. And when Obama and Hillary were squaring off for the nomination, he did what he called Project Chaos in Ohio. And he asked every unaffiliated person possible to go in there and vote for Obama in order to stop Hillary. And that could be replicated in a lot of places. So that is a concern. Personally, I would support a closed primary because I personally don't believe that someone who's not part of the party should have the right to pick the party leadership or the candidates, excuse me. However, I don't think the state would support that. So that's personal.
But again, Bill made an interesting point. Now, imagine if a bunch of unaffiliated voters went into a Democrat or Republican Party meeting and could pick who led those parties. And you could find yourself in some absurd situations rather quickly. But you wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't think to do that. So why would we not rectify the situation in the party primaries.
I have a question.
Hey, I'll take it a step further, TK. I'll say something you'll probably agree with. I think primaries should be done by the parties. I think that the state, why are we spending? No, they're not. They're done by the state of North Carolina pays for the respective parties to pick their nominees.
So wait a minute. So the DNC, RNC that come up with their candidate for the season or whatever.
They still have to win a primary. Doesn't matter who they pick.
Sorry?
Yes, that's why we have primaries.
Right.
Remember when Trump ran, there were like 14, 16, 18 Republicans
people on
the
that
first
days,
time.
right. So I thought the RNC was the one to present their candidate.
And that's a very hard thing to get people to understand. The party does not pick candidates. The primary does. Basically, the people vote.
Yep.
But how much money did the RNC rake in last year from donations and everything else?
But the RNC doesn't take a position on candidates in a primary.
No, but they should fund the process necessary to get their candidate out there.
So this is what I was talking about. The Democrats and Republicans, Bill has the infrastructure in Brunswick County for there to be a closed system. In the Republican, they could run it right through the precincts and on up. And so could the Democrats, in theory. You could have, that would force the parties to do more debates and more activities.
How much tax money would that save?
Millions.
And what kind of stupid is in the way of that?
Well, unaffiliated.
But I mean, with $10 million, just think about it. With $10 million, we could repair properly the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge.
Yeah, but they don't look at it that way. It would
three elections, and we could replace the bridge.
It would be back in the general fund. But Bill's point, it is an interesting situation. As unaffiliated continue to grow, the parties are going to be a smaller and smaller voting block, but they're going to still be out there doing what Bill's doing, trying to recruit candidates, raise money, have events, and talk to folks.
And they have great deli trays, by the way. So the two events that I've been to at the Brunswick County, they had this deli tray that I don't know who made this thing, but it was angelic.
They do a good job over there at that building.
And in fact, I have a meeting tomorrow, and I need to schedule with Bill my next arrival with a box of goodies to make his building look a little better and tighten up the security around the technology there.
Tell me when you want me to be there, sir.
Well, who do you have on your show tomorrow?
Actually, we're doing something different. We don't have any visitors this time.
You're going to have a windmill visit you.
No. Mary's still off trying to find a plug to put in the windmill somewhere up in Maine.
I'd love to be a part of that. I'd love to be a part of that debate on the windmills.
They did a 3-week run on it while I was gone and when I was out on vacation and then locked up. But they had an interesting run with it. But we're going to be discussing, the first thing is, I did some research and I have a discussion on how to deal with liberals. So that's going to be kind of a fun topic for part of it.
You do pretty good with me.
And I'm probably going to be heading toward the biggest thing that I heard this weekend was the Madison County Sheriff putting in AR-15s in the schools.
That's creating quite a buzz in the community.
Well, you know what? I'm an old high school principal in 2 different states, and I totally agree with what's going on, and I would take it a step further and train a half a dozen staff members who can still carry. But, of course, that's just me.
Man, it's just mind-blowing that when I was a kid, we had, when they first took, what's the spinny playground toy thingy? What's that thing, the carousel or whatever, the wheel of death? Yeah. They had those in now they've taken them out, right? In my childhood, they started removing them for our own safety.
The monkey bars.
And now they're going to put in AR-15. Holy cow, yeah. What
No slides. No high monkey bars. Yeah, kids have to be. I'm surprised we don't put them in bubble wrap and turn them loose on the playground.
Well, I was thinking, why not get those like shipping containers that people are making houses out of, reinforce it with concrete, and you've got playground bunkers all day long.
There you go.
They couldn't afford the cost of the bunker.
Well, we could if we did something with the school lunch program, right? Because that's just getting expensive. If we're not going to educate them, why are we feeding them?
TK, the lesson that Bill would say, and I would say, is that, anything government kind of gets involved in becomes less efficient and more expensive, and not necessarily at a better degree of service. So that, I think that Milton Friedman said it best: you pick any 3 letters in the alphabet, you probably have a government agency that could either be removed or at least significantly cut with respect to funding. And he's right. And we see that every day.
Yeah, and to add to that, you can add what Reagan said: the closest thing to immortality is a government program. You just can't kill them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've only made it mentally as high as like get onto a road construction gig because that's job security.
Well, you just rephrased what both of us said.
Okay.
So,
I did. I was not aware of that. See, this is because my head is in all the electrons. I miss those
no, but I
connections.
mean, you affirmed it. So.
What's nobody's addressing, and it's, school shootings are a disaster, and they should be everything you can to stop them. I totally agree with. However, but the yelling and screaming is about the weapons again. And as a Second Amendment fan, you need to understand we've had Second Amendment rights since the birth of this country in 1789. School shootings are maybe 50, 60 years old. So that's a new thing, and you can't equate it to the weapons. You need to equate it to the culture.
The decline of adultness in America.
I mean, TK, we were just 30 years ago, not even, I'd say maybe 35. But, kids carried guns to school in the rural parts of this state and country. And no one, nobody thought
we had coyotes in our neighborhoods and in our, yards. So it was not uncommon for just about every house to have a 22 or a 30.
Yeah. Do you remember TK, the movie Red Dawn? I know that Bill does.
Oh my
You
God,
probably
that was a while
too.
ago.
It was. It was in the 80s, Patrick. But the kids ran out of the high school when we were getting invaded, and they ran and got in their trucks that had guns in them. So they had arms. The whole premise of that movie, they were able to fight back. That was kind of the central part.
When I first took over in Edenton at Johnny Holmes High School in 2005 and 6, they had just passed a rule that stopped the kids from having shotguns or rifles mounted in the back of their trucks. Because up to that point, it was not uncommon to walk through there, and you could see, every other truck had some sort of a weapon hanging back there. And it wasn't a problem.
Now, another difference, though, that while the gun was hanging in the rack, there wasn't 15 copies of the logos plastered all over the bumper, the door, the panels.
Well, TK, here's what I would say. And I think we're going to find this, just like we have discovered sugar is kind of at the fulcrum of a lot of health issues, that we've shoved so many carbs in people, and it took 50 years for the medical establishment to finally start admitting that was a problem. We have the same thing. We have the same problem with medications. We're at a time we can sit here and blame guns, but the mental health issue and the number of drugs we're pumping into kids from the time they're able to walk, and then we act, and they're psychotropic. I mean, they're mentally, they affect the people mentally, and it's to act like there are no repercussions for pumping our kids full of drugs rather than helping them grow up. And again, people are going to scream, "Oh, Chad, there's people that genuinely need stuff." There probably is, but there's no way that 35-40% of our kids need to be pimped out on mind-altering drugs when they're growing and developing. And then when you overlay that with the school shooting stuff, you see the preponderance of mental issues and drugs that are involved in these kids. I'm not talking about illegal drugs. I'm talking about stuff that was prescribed to them, that's developed long-term psychopathies and these kind of things. So we need to look at all that. Bill's right. The guns, we had a healthy respect for guns growing up. Bill did. I did. I'm a gun owner. Have been since I was about 8. So it gets insane when people say, "Oh, my gun's going to walk out and start shooting people."
I do. There was a series there for a while where people would load their gun, put it on the front porch, and then take pictures of it every couple of hours and point out that it hasn't moved, it hasn't done anything. And it seems as almost sophomoric as not understanding the respect for the weapon in the first place, or the process. Because in our case, as a child in military school, before we fired the weapon, we were given an incredible amount of training, just like before getting a license. So, and again, the argument is going to fly that only the people that respect the process, that respect the tool, that respect the effect of the tool are going to go through this process. Same with the driver. Drivers who are conscientious are going to go through the training and become the best drivers they can. Most people are just going to cut corners. They're going to wait till they're 16, go get the license, and wrap it around a tree.
Well,
don't ban cars, do it.
Cars, unless you're Christine, Stephen King's ode to cars.
I own one.
But yes, so these situations where it's about guns and gun safety, we were always raised with a healthy respect for that. Bill came from a little more north than I did, but guns were a healthy part of Southern culture. No matter whether I was in Texas or Tennessee or North Carolina or Mississippi, it was a part of the culture. It wasn't something that we grew up fearing. We grew up learning to use them.
Like for us, we had to take care of coyotes or whatever was coming after our livestock. It wasn't something we carried around to protect our ego or to inflate our sense of value, worth, or power.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's not to play with knives or play with an axe or something along that.
Right.
Yes, it could be a little more dangerous, but the principle is the same. You need to teach the kids a healthy respect not to go there, and you also need to secure them properly, and so that they're not just laying around for some small kid to come in and get them. But guns, if you take that theory with guns being the problem, then I'm going to take it to schools. It wasn't me that failed that test; it was the pencil.
Ah, yeah. It's the fork's fault that I gained weight.
There you go. You're getting the concept
Now,
here.
this one's true, though. I have discovered this, and I highly recommend this for anybody who's struggling with a diet. Start eating everything with chopsticks. I guarantee you'll lose weight.
Unless you're good at chopsticks.
We are not. White people in America are not chopsticks ready.
Oh, Lord.
It's got to be like a 5%. The people that actually are dedicated to getting the food into the pie hole can use any device necessary. But my ability to use a pair of chopsticks has reduced my weight from 160 to 140, and nothing else has been this effective.
Well, just wait until it's mandated, TK, because, chopsticks are made out of wood, and that might not be something you want to chop down trees to eat like that. And if they're plastic, they're going to kill, ocean life.
Oh, no, they got steel ones now, dude.
You
Those
need to
are
learn to
sweet.
eat with your fingers and learn to eat insects and dirt. You just hadn't gotten with the program. On
Eat like a
climate change
shark.
yet, dude.
Eat with your whole face.
There you go.
That's what I would prefer.
I am not going there either.
Come on now. You wanted seafood.
No.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That's a 12-year-old
TK.
joke.
TK.
See, they let me back on the air.
Oh, luckily it's in digital format, so we're okay.
A little magic eraser there.
That's true. But anyway, TK, real quick, because I can kind of sum up things going on this week before I have to go disappear. The county's got a very busy week coming up. On the 11th, we have the Brunswick Men's Group is meeting at 5:30. The headquarters. That's a group that is formed of Brunswick men. They became federated at the end of July, and they now work through the state organization. It's 25 strong and growing. That same evening, we're going to be having our monthly meeting of the county. On the 13th, we have our golf outing. We're pretty close to shutting that down. If you haven't got your group in now, you probably got a day or so before we're going to lock it down. So if you want to get a foursome in there, you can go contact Steve Gainey or Rich Leary or get to me, and I'll send you the forms you need to get it in. It's also on our spaces online, so you can get it there. And then finally, a long-term thing on the 9th of September, Lieutenant Governor is coming to speak to the county. So if you're looking forward to coming to hear a very dynamic man talk, sign up online. So anyway, TK, that's all I got to say right now.
Wow, that's a lot going on. And I'm hoping I can...
Actually, that's not true. I found something else I could say.
Yeah?
The county, in a term to outreach to non-traditional Republicans, we're specifically targeting the Hispanic population. And on the 27th, we are running a yard sale at the county headquarters. And we're starting to get the information out. And basically, it's going to be, we have all kinds of donations already there. The basic rule is you get a Walmart bag. We're going to say the Walmart bag for $3. Whatever you can get in the bag is yours. And you can walk around and pick whatever you want. You can't fill it up. You got to be able to lock it, close it at the top. But, we're looking forward to doing that and getting some people in to talk to them about it and maybe start joining us in other activities. So that's the last thing on my agenda right now.
Man, between the golf and the hot dogs, I think you're going to get overrun with a whole new, generation.
That's the idea. The reality is the Republican Party has to expand. We cannot be, they generally label us as old white men, and that's not true anymore.
You have the teenage Republicans.
Yep.
That was a pretty eye-opening group.
The TARS kids are really, really great. They're good kids. But beyond that, we're seeing a growth in Black and Hispanic support for the party, and we need to play on that and get people to understand that we're not the evil incarnate. And very often, our ideals line up perfectly, including race beliefs, religious beliefs. What am I missing? Something now? And our beliefs in family. We get together, and we all want the same things for the most part. And when we get a chance to explain what our true beliefs are, the race that we're related, and matter, we link up very closely with the greater majority of values that the Black and Hispanic community have.
Man. And don't forget, tomorrow night, All Things Brunswick, Bill Moore, Dan Romand, and Greta Lehman, I believe, this week, yes?
Yeah, Greta's getting 2 more weeks, then we get Mary back.
Oh, yeah, that's her responsibilities have doubled in a week.
Yeah, she's got to find 2 plugs now up in Maine.
Well, kids, I thank you so much, Bill, for being here for the segment this morning.
I'll talk to you. You let me know what time tomorrow, right?
I will, and I'm going to, when we come back, we have a question that I'm going to field to Mr. Adams from Miss Faircloth, asking about things, having interaction with our audience. It's pretty happening. So Please don't go anywhere. The Big Talkers Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, will be right back after these messages. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
Folks, you must visit Angie's Fresh Produce, 4447 Long Beach Road, Southport. Beautiful fresh produce at a great price. Angie's has just about every vegetable you want. In-store shopping and pickup, and all wheelchair accessible. Call Angie's Fresh Produce at 910-477-9068.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We begin with a motorcycle crash that took the life of a Columbus County man. Just before 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon in the southbound lanes of I-95, 49-year-old Kenneth Ray Todd from Hallsboro crashed into a guardrail in a construction zone after veering off the highway. The Highway Patrol says the crash happened when Todd reached down to get a bottle of water. As he took a sip, he swerved, hitting that guardrail. First responders spent about 30 minutes on life-saving efforts, but he died on the scene. We have an update on a story from late last week. An inmate who escaped a medium-security prison in Robeson County has been caught. Wayne Zachary Holzhauser was discovered missing around 5:30 Friday evening in the Robeson CRV Center. According to the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, 5 hours later, Holzhauser surrendered without incident and was transported to a close custody facility. The 37-year-old was serving time for violating his post-release supervision on a 2018 conviction of receiving a stolen vehicle. He was scheduled to be released in November. In downtown Wilmington, New Hanover County Commissioners want to move forward with Project Grace. Before that happens, the state treasurer's local government commission must vote on the lease agreement. That lease will outline the county's payments for the development of the public library and Cape Fear Museum. County staff and the developer gave a presentation on the project to the LGC last week. New Hanover County Commissioners are asking the state treasurer to put the vote on the calendar at the next LGC meeting. And this weekend wrapped up Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week at a special event in Brunswick County. There were spoken word performers, live music, and food at a festival in Ocean Isle Beach. The Leland Town Council proclaimed July 30th to August 6th as Gullah Geechee Nation Week. The goal is to bring awareness and appreciation to a group that has a rich history in the Cape Fear region. For more on these stories, you can head on over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Typical summertime weather patterns sticking around on this Monday as high temperatures inland of the coast get into the lower 90s this afternoon. Coastal areas will climb into the middle and the upper 80s. Nice beach weather with the moderate risk for rip currents and a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms to fire up mainly into the early afternoon hours today. As for tonight, I'm expecting quiet conditions to stick around as our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Get all your sports action with Tanner Barth on WWAY.
Let's get things started with our full court press matchup of the week.
From the full court press to the fifth quarter and everything in between.
And they say if some is good, more is better this time.
We've got your sports world covered all around the Cape Fear.
Check out the save from the captain. Full extension.
This is the place for your sports coverage. WWAY.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that. Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
I can see Baldhead from my house.
I was just there.
I know.
On Bald Head Island. Spent most of the weekend there with all the crazy Steed Bonnet guys, man. That was a lot of fun. Hey, kids, welcome back to the Asylum right here on the Big Talker Network, the BigTalker.live website. Please download the app for Android and iOS devices. Let's see. You can send an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, critiques. We cannot improve without your help. You can peruse our schedule of content. Are you wondering what the little chevron is above your head there?
It's like a inverted pyramid. It looks like part of my ceiling.
No, what it is it matches your widow's peak. So when you're in the right position, I can
I have to get like this and then get closer to it, right?
Right, and then do you remember Flash Gordon, the movie that was scored by Queen?
Yes.
And the evil guy with the latex hat with the point? That's where I got
Ming.
that.
The Imperial Ming?
Ming, that's where I got that. That was part of his crown. I flattened it out, hammered it out, and put it on the screen for the Big Talker.
There you go. I thought it was Magneto from Marvel Universe. Or no, who was that? I don't even know. It's whoever. Or
that would have been
X-Men. It was the X-Men franchise.
Right, the X-Men franchise, Magneto. Part of the MCU. Now, before the break, I teased a question from Miss Patricia Fairclough.
As if I was a lawyer.
Yes, and these are things I don't understand. I mean, I barely understand the electrons. Can I ask how somebody can be included within a court of appeals opinion when they were not allowed from the lower courts to even be a party of a case? I truly don't understand how is that constitutional.
I'm not sure I entirely understand the question, but I'll take a non-lawyer stand on it. A non-lawyer answer, which is there's two or three concepts she's touching on, which I'm not sure which one she's referring to directly, because she mentioned people that are not part of an original case that are in an opinion is what it sounds like. So the court can draw opinions from other cases and other people in those cases. They become part of the tapestry of that case. So I'm not sure if she's referring to that or someone who wasn't part of that particular case but was somehow involved in it peripherally, and they somehow get drawn into it.
Witness or
right.
A
Now the most
victim.
important part is the concept of standing. And this is a situation that is problematic in North Carolina and elsewhere because our courts have been going to more of a federal version of standing. So it's limiting which North Carolinians can bring legal issues up against their government. And so what I mean by that is just say there were some charter laws passed for charter schools and the school tried to fight it. You'd have to establish that they have standing. And the federal definition of standing is much more less free, as it were. It's a very narrow way of looking at standing. So we need to open that up so that citizens, if you're a citizen, you live in North Carolina, you can bring a case against an institution. You have standing in the courts. And that's one of the problem areas that we see elsewhere. Now, I wish if Ms. Fairclough cares to clarify that, I could steer her in the right direction as to who to speak to about it, maybe the Institute of Constitutional Law or something like that. But I'm not sure which area she was asking about on that question. How's that?
Same here. I mean, that was way over my head. Again, I'm doing good just to hit the airwaves at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No, but I mean, take it a step further. If you imagine you're not even a citizen and you want to bring a lawsuit in North Carolina, well, you're not a citizen, so that wouldn't pass. But there are ways that they exclude that you from being a part of a lawsuit that you really should have a part in because of the federal definition, and that would be another entire show you could do.
Now, would it almost be as arbitrary as saying eye color or hair color?
No, not that arbitrary, but pretty legally arbitrary about who does and doesn't have standing. I mean, theoretically, someone like me who's been in the state for, I don't know, 30, 35 years, longer than that, hard to believe. So 40 years, it's hard to believe that someone like me would probably have trouble establishing standing depending on what I want to do or if I feel aggrieved by a government agency. And I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of lawsuits, I think, are going to emanate out of Governor Cooper's lockdowns with respect to emergency actions. And there's going to be an interpretation about how far a governor can go in those situations. There has to be. There has to be some kind of legally deterministic decision that's made.
It's still giving me a headache, but I haven't had a lot of sleep since Baldhead. But it does seem insulting that if I have a grievance, I should be able to.
You should
bring almost like bringing criminal charges against somebody who punched me.
Yep.
Right? If you punched my wallet, I should be able to respond in civil court.
You can. This is about going on up the chain. If you want to sue a government agency.
Where they have greater protections and more money than you'll ever see.
Yes, there you go.
Okay,
see, that's hitting that. That's hit. It's poking. It's poking at your inner libertarian. There, it's poke. That libertarian you're trying to turn loose and say, wait, government can go too far. Government doesn't create more freedoms, it takes them away. Government doesn't make things more productive, it makes them less productive.
Suddenly the government is a lot more like my parents when I was a child.
Worse. Well, I don't know how bad your parents were, so it depends. But in many ways, Big Brother is alive and well in this new bill, 87,000. It's amazing all these lefties are out there, screaming this is the greatest thing ever. The 87,000 agents will go after the rich. But I hate to tell you, but 87,000 new IRS agents are going to be going after small businesses.
With AR-15s?
With or without, you don't know. But certainly, why should it be bigger than the Pentagon? Why should the IRS be larger than, the Department of Defense? Why should the IRS be that large? Maybe we have a really screwed up, complicated tax code, and we need to start by getting rid of about, 1,000 pages of it that would actually make things easier, better, and more well-rounded, more fair. But no, instead we have an archaic tax code that nobody can understand. It's created thousands of cottage industries, and the IRS can barely answer questions about its own code. And their answer to this, the left, is to just hire 87,000 and weaponize the IRS and make it certainly it's going to surpass most government agencies. It's going to be huge. 87,000 people.
Now, this to me brings up the memories of the 1920s revenuers.
It could be.
Is it going to be Chicagoland? Like, what was that, the Valentine's Day Massacre? Yeah,
you're talking about the Untouchables. But which they took out Al Capone.
Welcome back. That's going to be.
But this is a serious problem with our tax code that needs to be addressed. And it needs to be gone through, but we're heading in the wrong direction.
With weapons.
But we're creating a more complicated tax system. We're not creating an easier to understand one. We're weaponizing a government agency. We're not actually making it easier. What we should be doing is focusing on making it easier for folks, because it's kind of like someone said about having a wife. Not only can she accuse me of doing things I didn't do, but she can accuse me of doing things I wasn't even mentally capable of thinking up. And that's kind of where we are. A lot of people do not realize when they run afoul of IRS stuff because the code is so complicated.
Yeah, there's no way to straighten it out.
Sure, I've gotten in situations where I could have answered a number of questions in the IRS code multiple different ways, and every one of them would have been correct. And that's the problem. And determining which one, it's pluses and minuses about how much you owe. And this insanity of taxing corporations, and corporations need to pay their fair share while neglecting to talk about every one of those employees paying income taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, gas taxes, and a myriad of other things, Social Security and Medicaid, Medicare, those type things, paying into them. We need to punish the company. But remember, the company has to earn the money first to pay all those employees. And all you're going to do by passing more corporate taxes is you're going to hurt the number of employees and the amount of money they're going to spend in R&D. It's not a plus for us. It's an absolute minus. And who goes on a profligate $1 trillion almost spending spree in the middle of a recession? that there isn't an economist worth their salt that would say that that was a good idea. But we did.
Well,
but we did.
To stimulate the economy, I mean, tax breaks and everything else just seems to add up. But,
wait. You're talking about taking them away. So you're at a time when you want more economic activity, where the numbers aren't really positive, and you want to spend $748 billion on stuff that, by the way, your own Congressional Budget Office scored and said it wouldn't affect inflation. So that's probably, this is a climate change bill, but it's not even a climate change that helps. It produces more cobalt and manganese and these things you're going to need for electronics, which are dug up in these horrific places by little kids in Africa. So this is not something we spent a lot of time discussing, but it sounds good to say Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
Name it something that it absolutely doesn't do or doesn't help. And then you pass it and, Republicans voted against insulin. Well, that's a cheap shot. It's a cheap ass shot that they're taking on Twitter and other places on social media, saying things like that. When you say Republicans are against insulin, well, that's not true. Maybe Republicans would like to see more competition in that. Maybe if we had companies that generically could produce insulin, it's been around for 60, 80 years now, maybe that would be a better idea and actually lower costs. But what the Democrats are saying is we want to allow Medicaid to negotiate prices. Well, when have you ever known the government to negotiate on things that made it cheaper, better, and more affordable? It just
I
doesn't.
didn't know they could.
They can't. And that's an absurd thing that they want. Then they say, well, cap it at $35. Well, you can't cap it at $35. What you'll do is you'll cap it your cost at $35, and every other taxpayer will have to pay the difference because you're not doing anything to bring down the actual price.
But
and
if
that's
you
where
and I
the
opened
issue
up a
is.
new pharma company and we could manufacture those medicines at a more affordable price, that would be the proper American entrepreneurial approach to solving
literally
this
what
problem.
I said. To get to the point, you got to make the generic process. No one's producing generic insulin. And then what we're getting is a wider variety of insulin products out there. You've got so many different products that are nighttime, Atlantis. You've got different kinds of insulin for different kinds of situations.
Species of pig that would have...
We're producing now. We're making more lab-grown insulin. Right now, it's completely organic. It's an organic offshoot, like you said, of pigs. But there's so much that could take place. But we've got to get government out of things, and we've got to get the private sector and competition back in. We see this. We see our hospitals have become cartels, and they're protected by government. You've heard Dale Falwell talk about that 100 times. And we have a serious problem where our medical community, unfortunately not the doctors, but administrators in both insurance companies and hospitals, and how we got on this tangent, I don't know, but I'll get back to a circuitous route. But the point is, we've allowed them to become extremely popular and powerful while at the same time doing nothing to allow competition to tear down those monopolies.
And that's what I was, I guess I was stunned when I first encountered this, where there was an outrage against Pharma Bro. And it's like, if you want to take down Pharma Bro, what you need to do is make Pharma Junior.
Well, Pharma Junior also
let's make it less expensive.
Let's stop taking all these things. Let's actually get out there and do some work and find out that a lot of this stuff probably hasn't worked. There's plenty of bodies.
Walk in the sunshine would eliminate a lot of the problems.
Sure. And if we were to exercise more and eat less and stop believing there's a magic pill that's going to fix everything when it's absolutely not going to, and start being human again, that's where you win. Instead, now think about this. When you see those pharma ads on your TV, when you're watching the news and you see like 10, there's two things. There's the ambulance chasers on Camp Lejeune that are setting up for a big payday, and there's the big pharma. Isn't it the doctor's job?
Yeah.
To determine what medications would be best for you? Since when are we telling the general public that understands very little about that product to go ask their doctor about it?
Yeah, that
put pressure.
My dad.
It turns every citizen who sees that, or non-citizen, into a lobbying arm of that company. Look, if I take Ventrizzi or whatever, then I can socialize with my family on the edge of a cliff on a beautiful spring day, and everyone will hang out with me. And instead of this marketing, it's genius marketing. It reminds me of the Joe Camel ads on cigarettes years ago. But to sit here and have pharma asking citizens to go ask for their products rather than, hey, what is the medical community saying about this? But there's so much money to be made, because you're absolutely right. This is the problem. And I'll say it, and I'm not going to pretend there's a simple solution. But the overarching problem that we have is citizens have very little knowledge of the medicine that they receive. And I don't just mean pills.
Right.
I mean treatments what they should do. And the medical community is unfortunately so bureaucratized now that getting time with your doctors is almost impossible. And really focusing on the patient. Yeah, but focusing on care and seeing the quality of care that people have gotten through COVID has been anemic. It's been pathetic, and especially with some of the other work. Ooh, that was good, anemic. I like it. Some of the other work that I've done, as you know, in other countries dealing with hospitals, is I find that it's a more patient centered. It's not paperwork centered. It's patient centered. And so for pennies on the dollar, you can get great treatments in other places. I think we can give the same quality of treatment here, but we don't. And that's the problem.
I remember in the 70s that the biggest advertisement on the air for medical anything was the waterproof Band-Aid.
Huh.
Right? It doesn't stick to the, no ouch.
I'm stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on me.
Right, those things. And there was absolutely never and ask your doctor about this medicine. The doctor would say, you are eligible under these situations that I feel that this might be a good solution for you.
You had the big medicine competition on TV was actually headache medicine. You remember? It was Excedrin. It was all
versus
aspirin. I mean, it was all of those. That's Motrin does this and allergy medications. That's when I first started seeing medicines get advertised, was in the allergy market when, the Benadryls and all these. And then when Claritin Clear and all these others came out, the molecular antihistamines that don't knock you out, that's where we saw it. And then it just escalated right through into pharma. And we just don't spend a lot of time. We love impulse buying. And if you go to the grocery stores are designed for impulse buying because I really need those ho-hos right before I walk out of the store. I really need JJ's apple pies, before I walk out. That's going to make me healthy. Yes, I bought this salad, but man, I tell you what, this JJ pie is going to be better.
And that salad's going to be in the refrigerator a lot longer than this pie.
And it changes color and stuff like that. So, but we do, and we do that in our healthcare too. We want a quick, easy fix, and we're willing to get our insurance companies to pay for it. The Obamacare, what was the name of the Affordable Care Act? We knew that it wasn't going to make things more affordable. It certainly wasn't more about care. It was about subsidies, and it wasn't about making the medical establishment any better or more accountable. And now we have an Inflation Reduction Act, which will not reduce inflation. So
kind of like having a war on drugs and a war
on drugs that hasn't really worked. So
drugs won, by the way.
I think the cartels won. I would say that the drugs
are winning in America.
Well, I mean, the Chinese, again, if we'd stand up to the Chinese, 90% of our fentanyl in this country comes from China through our southern corridor. If you're a Mexican drug lord, here's some good questions. If you're a Mexican drug lord, who do you want to win? You want the left to win. I'm not being mean to them. I'm saying they are more inclined to have an open border, not care. So if you're a drug lord, you like the status quo right now. It's muy bueno, and if you're a Chinese fentanyl producer, who do you want in power? Of course, you want the Democrats in power because you get your product to the U.S. through the southern border. So these are the kind of things. But if you have these kind of debates, it's all about, well, the Republicans don't care about your insulin and that kind of stuff. But if you think about who wants who to win, that's when you find some interesting motivations. Ask yourself the question, which group of people wants this team to win? And it's very telling when you start asking yourself those questions.
Man. And that's why we have you on all week to help us understand these questions.
No, I don't know. Hey, we will talk about that. But I got to run right now, but we will talk about that. Thank you, TK.
Sure thing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after these messages right here on the Big Talker. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Will be right back after these messages. Please don't go anywhere. Peruse the website during our absence, and we will join you in a moment with Paul Valone, Guns, Politics, and Freedom, and grassrootsnorthcarolina.org. Read up on it. We'll catch you in a moment.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We begin with a motorcycle crash that took the life of a Columbus County man. Just before 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon in the southbound lanes of I-95, 49-year-old Kenneth Ray Todd from Hallsboro crashed into a guardrail in a construction zone after veering off the highway. The Highway Patrol says the crash happened when Todd reached down to get a bottle of water. As he took a sip, he swerved, hitting that guardrail. First responders spent about 30 minutes on life-saving efforts, but he died on the scene. We have an update on a story from late last week. An inmate who escaped a medium-security prison in Robeson County has been caught. Wayne Zachary Holzhauser was discovered missing around 5:30 Friday evening in the Robeson CRV Center. According to the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, 5 hours later, Holzhauser surrendered without incident and was transported to a close custody facility. The 37-year-old was serving time for violating his post-release supervision on a 2018 conviction of receiving a stolen vehicle. He was scheduled to be released in November. In downtown Wilmington, New Hanover County Commissioners want to move forward with Project Grace. Before that happens, the state treasurer's local government commission must vote on the lease agreement. That lease will outline the county's payments for the development of the public library and Cape Fear Museum. County staff and the developer gave a presentation on the project to the LGC last week. New Hanover County Commissioners are asking the state treasurer to put the vote on the calendar at the next LGC meeting. And this weekend wrapped up Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week at a special event in Brunswick County. There were spoken word performers, live music, and food at a festival in Ocean Isle Beach. The Leland Town Council proclaimed July 30th to August 6th as Gullah Geechee Nation Week. The goal is to bring awareness and appreciation to a group that has a rich history in the Cape Fear region. For more on these stories, you can head on over to wwaytv3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Typical summertime weather patterns sticking around on this Monday as high temperatures inland of the coast get into the lower 90s this afternoon. Coastal areas will climb into the middle and the upper 80s. Nice beach weather with a moderate risk for rip currents and a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms to fire up mainly into the early afternoon hours today. As for tonight, I'm expecting quiet conditions to stick around as our temperatures fall down to the middle and the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun when you get a lot of kids all up in your face and they want to paw and touch and clamor your gear. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will not apologize for coming unglued. Anyway, hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, redefining our capabilities and, of course, our identity. We have our friend Paul Valone from Grassroots, North Carolina, who is also the director of the organization, as well as host, producer, and content creator, I'm guessing. I'm trying to invent words to make you sound good on the Guns, Politics, Freedom program, airing every Saturday at 10 a.m. Or did I mess that
Saturday?
up? Saturday?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Sorry.
There you go.
I've only had like 3 hours sleep since bald head, so I'm my days are
We'll
scrambled.
forgive you this time. Don't let it happen again.
As long as it runs on time, I don't care.
Anyways.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. I'm hoping you've had a very busy week.
Yeah, actually, too busy in some respects. I put out a blog yesterday that went out under the title, "You Just Might Be a Militia Violent Extremist." Because you see, you know, the Biden administration has spent all of its time trying to criminalize and control mainstream Americans. I mean, they used a violent takedown for Roger Stone and Peter Navarro. You got an FBI whistleblower describing a systematic effort to bury the Hunter Biden laptop as evidence as Russian disinformation, and, of course, their most recent attempt to brand parents who are concerned with the indoctrination of their children in schools as domestic violent extremists. But a few days ago, John Crump, writing in AmmoLand.com, described the latest attempt to target mainstream Americans, this time as militia violent extremists. Apparently, there are leaked FBI documents that were obtained by Project Veritas, and they were tweeted by, I guess, a lawyer, Steve Stambola, that depict an FBI that now focuses on symbols such as the Gadsden flag, which is the state symbol for a number of states, the Revolutionary War Minuteman image, which is the logo for Gun Owners of America, Virginia Citizens Defense League, and a bunch of others, or the Betsy Ross flag, which, by the way, hangs at presidential inaugurations. If you use these images, the FBI might decide that you are, one of the 3%ers, the Lightfoot militia, the American contingency, or heaven forbid, the Oath Keepers. And so if you display any of these things, you just might be a militia violent extremist. I actually put the images of two of these documents. They are FBI documents. One of them, hang on just a second here, I got to pull it up. There we go.
Well, that kind of, when being, with all these, as you had pointed out with the gun, one or two of these items and suddenly it's an assault gun. Does this not terroristic, whatever branding, would it apply to somebody who has to carry an AR-15 fully strapped just to get a latte at Starbucks? I mean, what the hell is that about? I mean, do you need really to be carrying 15 open weapons of the largest possible caliber just to get a toy at the Walmart? I mean, what's going on?
Let me put it this way: those people, and I don't necessarily, agree with them all the time, but the open carry crowd wants to demonstrate to the world that it is their right to open carry, and open carry is legal in North Carolina. I frankly don't advocate open carry myself for a couple of reasons. For starters, if you encounter a criminal. Exactly. The criminal is going to go for you first. I would just as soon that they didn't know I was armed until their knowledge becomes a moot point.
Yep. A little delayed reaction there.
But the other reason is that, I support anybody's right to open carry, but you got to bear in mind that there are some gun-free zones in North Carolina and elsewhere, places where you cannot legally take a firearm. And if you happen to wander into one of these places accidentally, you are now displaying the evidence of your violation on your hip. I saw a guy the other day that, because, I live in Bryson City or outside Bryson City, and everybody's got guns here. So I'm in the post office. The guy wanders in open carrying into the post office. Now, they didn't take him to task for it, but that's a violation of federal law. So, and, he could have been arrested for that. But in any case, yes, that probably would, by the FBI references, make you a militia violent extremist. But the point is, a lot of these things are very mainstream items that they're claiming would make you an extremist. For example, use of the 2A symbol, okay? 2A refers to the Second Amendment. So now apparently if you refer to the Second Amendment, the FBI considers you a militia violent extremist. What we're seeing here is a systematic effort.
That seems hypocritical. I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody with 2A or open carrying a gun is going to be falling into this category or getting damned close. We're about to hire and arm hundreds of thousands of IRS agents.
Bingo.
Are these guys going to be terrorists? Where did the qualifier disappear?
It's funny you mentioned that because I closed my blog with that. Basically, with the Biden administration starting to militarize, essentially turn the FBI into the Gestapo, And so now they're going to hire 87,000 IRS auditors, under this so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is probably the most Orwellian name I can think of for that, because it's going to do exactly the opposite. But 87,000 new IRS auditors, what could possibly go wrong, right? And then we consider, of course, that during the Obama administration, they were using the IRS to deny tax-exempt status to Tea Party organizations and other conservative organizations. As a matter of fact, one of them that they pursued was, her name was Catherine Engelbrecht. She runs True the Vote. Now, True the Vote is the one that did the study that resulted in the documentary 2,000 Mules, documenting ballot fraud across a variety of states. So we could very clearly see that the IRS can be abused and almost certainly will be abused by this administration to target mainstream Americans and conservative organizations. This is scary stuff. I mean, we're in almost unprecedented times where we see the politicization of our federal law enforcement agencies.
I have read a few books that were written in the 40s and 50s by various sci-fi authors that do seem to be mimicking what's going on now, just 50 years ahead of the schedule that they had put into the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is Orwell had the date wrong. That was about it.
That was about it. 2084.
The other thing he had wrong in 1984 was basically he was creating a society that was totally surveilled at all times, but to keep them under control, they were kept impoverished. That's not how it works now. What they do instead is they give you TVs and football and, I guess what Orwell would have called prole feed, okay?
Yeah.
Things to keep proletariat happy.
Wow. Somebody remembers
while they control them. Oh, I've read 1984 many times.
I don't think the kids, is it allowed to be read anymore?
Probably not.
I mean, they took To Kill a Mockingbird out of a number of schools.
Yep. No, I used to, when I was writing columns for the Charlotte Observer and elsewhere, I used to quote Orwell fairly frequently. One of my favorites being, "Who controls the present controls the past. Who controls the past controls the future."
Hardcore.
And that, of course, is exactly what they're doing in the schools right now. Basically eradicating. Using critical race theory to eradicate American history as it's traditionally been taught, and replacing it with something that basically a Marxist doctrine that calls Western society imperialist and oppressors and racist.
Well, these are the same terms that are used in the Star Trek movie. So to make sure that everybody's on the same page, we just had to borrow new terms.
I guess so.
Right? I mean, that's what I thought. The first time I heard those terms after the Star Wars, the first one, I was like, oh, now I know who the bad guy is.
Yeah, when you think about that, I used to love the original Star Trek series too, but when you look at it now in context, that was a big promo for the United Nations and the One Worlder type of stuff. But most people don't realize that, talking about critical race theory, most people think of this as something that's relatively recent. In truth, critical race theory is actually an offshoot of critical theory, which was introduced in Columbia University in 1937, when Columbia forged a partnership with the Frankfurt School and its Institute for Social Research. These were Marxist intellectuals in Europe trying to figure out how to promote Marxism and around the world. What eventually became known later as the Long March through the Institutions, namely the multi-generational effort to take over our, see if this sounds familiar, our media, our cultural institutions, and our schools. And they've largely succeeded. But what the Marxists realized a while back was that they normally used critical theory. Basically, talked about people being oppressed on the basis of their class. Okay, the lower classes being controlled and oppressed by the upper classes. Well,
like India.
Like that would be a perfect example. But see, critical theory didn't work well in the United States because, unlike places like India, class is not immutable in the United States. Somebody like Mark Robinson, who grew up in a dysfunctional household with an alcoholic father in poverty, becomes lieutenant governor of the state of North Carolina. So if you can't divide people by class, they had to find something that was immutable that they could use to divide people, and that, of course, is race. You can't change race. So therefore, critical theory became critical race theory, and that is the Marxist instrument used to divide people. But, of course, all of that is acceptable to the Biden administration. What's not acceptable is when people speak up against critical race theory, because then those parents, tired of having their children indoctrinated in schools, become domestic violent extremists in the eyes of the FBI. And they issued, you probably saw this, the FBI issued a memo, about parents at school board meetings. The stuff is bizarre. You can't even begin to make this up. It goes to a certain extent beyond anything Orwell even imagined.
Well, he just hadn't matured to that level. He needed, one more glass of absinthe, and I'm sure that vision would have come to him.
So, anyways, I guess I'm a militia violent extremist, at least according to the FBI. And I strongly suggest people check out. Matter of fact, it's on my blog right now on my, and I've got links on my Facebook page for my book, Rules for Anti-Radicals, a practical handbook for defeating leftism. So if anybody wants to check out the blog, they can go to the Facebook page, and there's a link to it there.
And I hope that book is doing well so far.
It is, actually. I'm continuing to sell copies, and it's doing very, very nicely. People can get it, rulesforantiradicals.com, and they can go get the book or see the blog, or I'm in the process of putting up some other resources for people there, too. I've got a couple of seminars. One video virtual seminars is available online. That one is Win Against Woke. And the next one I'm putting together is a introduction to grassroots mobilization, basically teaching people a very different model of politics than the one they had traditionally been taught to accept. Everybody likes to say that, with the corruption that's going on now, that our political system is broken. Well, I got news for you. There was corruption in 1791.
There's a difference between corrupted and broken. You can still drive on a bridge that's corrupted. You cannot drive on a bridge that's broken.
Well, the thing is, people say our political system is broken, but it's really not. It's working the way it was intended. The thing is, it just doesn't work the way you think it does.
Certainly not with the people that are in those offices. If you have the right people in the offices, it'll all run like a top, right?
Well, that's the one way our entire system is breaking down. You can't have a constitutional republic in which the people don't have morals and values. It requires morals and values. Otherwise, you have to replace values with rules and laws.
Yep.
And
that tip is definitely indicative. I mean, that's been pointed out by historians for years, that the more laws a society has, the less self-sustaining that society would be.
Very true. Very true. I laugh. I'm 63 years old. I go into a bar, and they're like, I got to ask for ID. Really? I look at them, I go, you do realize we have replaced reason with rules, right? I mean...
Oh, yeah. And now reason is being questioned. It's like, what is reason? Okay, reason is the only thing preventing me from punching you in the face right now. If it was emotion, this would already be over. I'd be in jail. You'd be in the hospital. But because I possess reason, I can look forward a little bit into that path of consequence and realize that it's probably not in my best interest to express my opinion with my knuckles.
There you go.
But this isn't taught in school. There is no But like when I was a kid, if you said something stupid to somebody and they punched you in the face, problem solved. You learned your lesson, right? Everything's done. There's no need for jail. There's no need for admonitions. There's no need for probation or, an ankle monitor. No, you got knocked in the face and the guy told you off and you stood corrected. You never did that again. That was how, this was what I don't know if I would call it street. I call that schoolyard justice, right?
There you go.
Is this just not acceptable anymore? I mean, is there no... I don't know. I didn't enjoy getting punched in the face, I'll say that. But I will say that I enjoyed knowing that for the following, where am I now? 46 years later, those lessons are still with me. I don't have to go to jail to remember what not to do. Is there no way to get back to that?
I'm not sure at this point that there is. I don't know because, frankly, I mean, we've seen an educational system that's been taken over by the left for generations now, and they have been deliberately undermining morals and values and traditional American beliefs and values and history, with the intention of making people dependent on government, dependent on laws, and all as a means to essentially consolidate control by a small number of people. And at this point, I don't know if it can be reversed or not. We might have reached that tipping point.
The critical mass.
I don't know,
And this is where functions like the activities at the grassroots North Carolina become even more important.
Well, I like to think of grassroots North Carolina as the conservative equivalent to something like the ACLU. We're there to protect civil liberties. Now, most of our projects have to do with the right to keep and bear arms, which the Supreme Court has now established in 3 decisions is one of our civil liberties. And I'm happy to say that grassroots North Carolina has been, a part of that movement, if you will. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to be the third case, and I've mentioned this to you before. Grassroots North Carolina was supposed to be the third plaintiff in a case very similar to what the Supreme Court decision that was just rendered, New York State Rifle and Pistol versus Bruin, and essentially establishing a right to bear arms outside the home. And we were actually suing under North Carolina's state of emergency law, under which, if there's a declared state of emergency, you are prohibited from carrying firearms outside the home, or you were. Mm-hmm. We sued, using the same lawyer, by the way, Alan Gura, who won both of the previous Supreme Court decisions, the Heller decision and the McDonald decision. And we sued that this was a restriction on our Second Amendment rights, in this case, to bear arms outside the home. And as I often say, unfortunately, we won. Unfortunately, because we sued the governor of North Carolina, then Governor Beverly Perdue. And when the state lost, they kind of read the tea leaves and they chose not to appeal. So it never went to the level of the Supreme Court to become precedent-setting law. And it actually took, that was back in 2012. It took another 10 years before the Supreme Court would actually take a case that established a right to bear arms outside the home.
Wow.
But when they did that in the Bruin decision, I mean, they struck down a may issue concealed handgun law. In other words, the may issue being the state can decide whether or not you need a permit for a handgun, and if you don't need it, you can't have it. That's their, you have to establish a specific need. And they struck that down. But the interesting thing is the Bruin decision also struck down the entire standard by which lower courts were deciding Second Amendment cases. They used to use a 2-step process. In the first step, they would determine whether or not it was, in fact, a violation of the Constitution. And in the second step, they would determine what level of scrutiny to use based on how compelling the governmental interest was. And Justice Clarence Thomas, who wrote the majority decision for the Bruin case, he said, of the 2-step process, he said, that's one step too many. And they struck down the entire process. So We are actually looking at Grassroots North Carolina. We're looking at additional litigation, perhaps over our concealed handgun permit law, perhaps over our pistol purchase permit law. But in the future, we will be we'll be announcing some litigation here in an attempt to strike down some of these gun laws. And you're going to see a lot of gun laws struck down over the next few years. Things like, well, I know there were California's ban on magazines holding more than 10 rounds. The Supreme Court remanded that back to the lower court for reconsideration in light of the Bruin decision. So it's entirely plausible that that magazine ban will be struck down. Ditto for a Maryland so-called assault weapon law, a ban on semi-automatic firearms. So it should be an interesting few years.
Man, that's a lot of good, strong work you guys have been working. I mean, just maintaining. I mean, that keeps you on your toes. And it still does not distract you from what you're doing for this November's election with the slate cards.
Nope. We'll be doing the voter guides and the whole deal. Matter of fact, we'll be sending out our second slate of candidate surveys coming up pretty soon. We give, at each election cycle, we give the candidates another opportunity to complete the survey. Those who don't complete a survey and who don't have a voting record get our lowest 0-star evaluation because we presume the candidate is hiding their position from us. Then basically the Remember in November project uses their voting records, if they have a voting record, their survey scores, their history of bill sponsorship, and some other factors, and it estimates the percentage of times a given candidate can be expected to agree with a control group of conservative gun owners. A candidate who agrees at least 90% of the time gets 4 stars, 80% 3 stars, on down the list. And then, as you correctly noted, we format that into, I'm hoping this time, 175,000 voter guides, mailing hopefully about 125,000 directly to gun-owning voters. So that they can tell, it's kind of like the Michelin guide to political candidates, and so they can get a feel for where these candidates stand on the gun issue, and take that voter guide into the polls with them when they vote.
And that lets you know, ladies and gentlemen who are listening, tuning in, watching, enjoying our programming, this is one of those organizations, not like the March of Dimes, where they're just paying for the administrative salaries of people that have no marketable skills whatsoever. This is actual money going into an organization that has a trident of issues, of irons, I should say, in the fire. Whether it's 2A, whether it's civil liberties, whether it's voters, all of this is active through a very small group of dedicated individuals that use the money. Mailing 175,000 cards at even a dime a piece is over 1 million. 100,000 times 10 is 1 million, right?
No, well, actually, no. I mean, you would say actually the cost for mailed voter guide is probably on the order of about 30 cents a whack using nonprofit rates. So 100,000 voter guides would be about $30,000 right there.
Sorry, I had my decimal on the wrong side.
Yeah, there you go. Math is not your forte.
Not at this time.
But the other thing we should note is that unlike United Way or some of these places that are a lot of the money goes into the executive pockets, like the NRA, for example, with Wayne LaPierre getting paid. One year, I think he got $5 million, and that was in addition to whatever else he was bilking from the organization. But
not including all the wonderful suits.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike the NRA, Grassroots North Carolina is all volunteer. We don't pay people. We don't pay ourselves a dime. Okay.
I hope you at least get a good sandwich out of the deal when you're stuffing envelopes.
I will buy. I'll buy the lunch. Buy lunch for our legislative action team when we go to the General Assembly. Yes, but
see, that's acceptable.
But yeah, I've been doing this stuff for 28 years now, unpaid. How stupid am I, huh? But nonetheless, that's what allows us to accomplish
you want a radio
more
station?
With less. Pardon me?
You want a radio station? I can do to parallel.
Beyond my technical expertise, sorry.
But this is the type of encouragement that if you haven't the conversation that I'm hoping would be encouraging people to at least visit grnc.org and take a look at what's going on. As much fun as Paul and I have, I know he's got to be putting in 30, 40, 50 hours a week during the election cycle to make sure that all the lines are crossed, dotted, folded, stuffed, and mailed.
There you go.
That's, wow. Well, sir, thank you so much for your time this morning, and I look forward to having you back next week, or if anything breaks, man, just call in. You know the number.
All righty. I will do that. Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Sure
See you next week.
See you next week. And for everybody else, I just have to point out that we have gone right over the hour because of such wonderful guests that have more information than I can process in the half hour. And we are one of the few stations in the country that can actually do half-hour segments. So with that in mind, thank you so much for an incredible Monday, and we will see you tomorrow right here on the Big Talker Network. See you then. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
Hi, I'm Eric, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is President of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn, on natural rights versus entitlements.
America was founded on the idea that human beings are born